belong to you.
I belong to
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
Puts it into an area. Keo, some Moana!
And I'll always be around when you need some loving, baby. No one else.
Put you down. Sing all my melodies.
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 87. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation is also your home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click that bell to get notifications. You can also download the audio version at all the usual podcast and radio platforms. And if you just want to follow the football stuff, it's at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms. And just as we wait for some people to join us at halftime in the football, big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as usual for all their support. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages or their website, links to which are in the description. And a big thank you to our sponsor today, Bespoke Financial, and here's a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thank you to Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. They specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. So go and have a look at their website and social media pages and tell them that we sent you. But a big thank you to them for sponsoring the show. So on with it. And joining me as usual is the goal collector himself, the king of the over 40s, fresh off his man of the match performance. What was it? 3 assists and a goal. Still got it. Ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, David Jones's favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend.
Good evening, mate. It's my legs are still sore, mate, from the weekend, so it's all well and good being able to do it, but it's the aftermath. I'm lucky there's no football due to lockdown, so it's come at a decent time for my legs. Let's put it that way. But no, good week of football. Some ups, some downs. Are currently down happening right now. Obviously, Cardiff City getting beat. I know we're going to look into that a little bit and delve into what's been going on. But the Championship side is just the strangest league. It's just, the expectation of it is very surreal. Some very strange results, some very strange happenings, team selections, goals, giveaways, referee decisions. It has everything. and it wouldn't if it was the same as the Premier League with VAR and stuff. It would be a different animal, I think.
God, mate, it'd be all over the shop, I think. All over the place if we had VAR in there as well. I just wanted to take 10 seconds as well to thank everybody who has subscribed to the YouTube channel, especially recently. There's been a massive influx as we hit our long-term goal of 1,000 subscribers. So big thank you to everyone who's subscribed and follows the show and all the other shows. Appreciate it massively. That was a big thing for me and for everyone involved. So thank you. But yeah, mate, it's been a very strange week in the Championship. Very strange indeed. I just saying to you, there's a certain person who I want to put on the ups and the downs, which we'll get to in a bit. But there is a game going on at the moment, so you've watched the first half. I've sort of had half eye in it because I was recording another show. But what did you make of that first half, mate?
Performance-wise, you know what I mean. So take everything out of it. Performance-wise, I thought they've done very well. Take out obviously the first couple of minutes with the goal. I think they've done okay. I think they've created a lot of chances. They've dominated for long periods. They've been very direct. They've got a lot of set pieces. They put balls in the good areas. They've been the better side out of the two. But the bigger picture for me, Sam, we spoke about it for weeks, probably nearly a year or over a year. You can't afford to give any team at all in the world, especially in the Championship for me, or a good side, a goal or two head start. You know what I mean? And it's coming back to bite Cardiff City on the backside. You know, I can go through. Barnsley's a different game. We'll talk about that. I can go back to the Bournemouth game. Give Bournemouth a 1-0 lead at half time. You draw 1-0. Middlesbrough, you give a goal away. You draw 1-0. Derby County, you're 1-0 down. You draw 1-0. QPR, you're 2-0 down. You get back, but you lose. Tonight, every time Cardiff City go behind, they don't win. Every time Cardiff City go ahead, to win the game comfortably. You know what I mean? And this could be, I could probably say the same thing about every other team in the Championship. But the problem I've got, Si, is go for games at the start. Don't sit back. Don't let teams attack you. Take the game to the jugular. You know what I mean? We just spoke off air about the Barnsley game, the Barnsley formation, playing two up front, which we've cried out for all season, by the way, on this show. He does it against Barnsley, 3-0 win, get balls in the box, create chances, have a really good game. I'm confused at best tonight why he's changed it, why he's changed the formation, why he's changed personnel, why he's gone back to one up front and put Gratzel back on the back. I am a little bit confused, I'll be honest, and it's annoying, but
yeah, I'm frustrated by it, mate, because I thought, I only watched the highlights of the Barnsley show because we were doing the Kev live show, but what I saw is everything was pretty good. Two up front, especially the wing play.
Yeah.
And what I've seen tonight, every time we've got the ball down the wings, we've looked dangerous.
Yeah.
But there's only one man in the box.
Yeah.
And we so often are going sideways or backwards, and I get really frustrated by it because I feel like when we try to be too clever and play this possession-based football, we get unstuck very quickly, and we get hit on the break, or we just, it's frustrating. But when we actually move on, be a bit more direct in terms of, and I'm not saying long balls because that is another thing which massively frustrated me when they stick Kiefer Moore up front and then just kick it to him and leave it to him to go. There's an in-between. There's a way of being direct and quick up the pitch without just lumping it up to the striker. And when you play 4-4-2, which they did on Tuesday, you're almost forced to play with your wingers and to get it down the wing.
Listen, Si, I'm not bothered at the style of football. Like you say, you know what I mean? For me, if you put the ball forward for either centre forward, and they're both big and strong in the air, by the way, and they're both good on the floor, if one of them wins the header, if you've only got one of them up there, who's he going to head it to? You know, that we're always giving the ball back. When they're both together and they're both causing the problems, it gives defenders an outlet of two people instead of having to be very accurate with one. You've still got your two wingers, your two midfielders in the middle. Yes, it's harder work for them, but they're fit, they're hungry, they're good enough, they're young enough to be able to get around the pitch. So I don't use that as an excuse. And if you're playing front foot football and attacking football, the onus is on the defending team to stop you from doing it. Tonight, I just think Bristol City will have enjoyed to see that team selection. It'll give them a little bit of a boost. They've obviously started very well, got themselves an early goal, and at the minute, it's given them an opportunity to hang on to something. And
they
that's
can
what
just
they're doing.
Play on the break, though, can't they? And with the players they've got,
but
they've got Naki Wells to suit that, haven't they?
Naki Wells, for me, you know what I mean? He will get a chance today, and if he gets a chance on the break, it could be dangerous. You know what I mean? And if they get the second goal, for me, I think it'll be game over because I don't think Cardiff City will recover at this time of the game. 50, 60 minutes in, you know what I mean, that they'll go 2-0 down. I just don't think it'll happen. You know what I mean, that they'll recover from it. And if they do, at best, you're going to get a draw. It's very negative for me, and like you said, it's frustrating, especially after what happened on Wednesday night. If we didn't have Wednesday night side, we wouldn't know any better. But we did.
I think one of the things though, mate, as well is like it'd be interesting for your view on this, obviously as an ex-professional. But like I was always kind of brought up on kind of football where go and win the game, and then make your changes. And like Rob makes a good point where he says, I think it's been said this week that Glatzel's not fit to play a full 90 minutes. Well, then in that case, you start him, win the game, or get the game won by 2 or 3 goals, and then you get Glatzel off and give him a break that way and build up his fitness. Because he's wasted on. He can't score off the bench.
I disagree. I disagree with the comments. Whoever's brought them out, because for me, how do you improve your fitness? You improve your fitness by getting minutes on the pitch, and the minutes on the pitch, I mean a real minute, so 0 to 60, 65. So the next game, if that's a midweek game, yes, he played on Tuesday, so today we can probably get 60 out of him again. Midweek, next weekend, you might be able to get 70, 75 out of him, or a full 90, depending on how the game's going. You know what I mean? Because if you're getting beat side 2-0, 3-0, and the game's over, let's use it as a fitness exercise because the game's finished. You know what I mean? So you use it as it is sometimes. But
Rob just said it was Harris said that pre-match today.
Well, it's an excuse for team selection. You know what I mean? Because if he's not fit,
he's going to get criticised for switching back.
Yeah. If he's not fit, then he shouldn't be sub in my eyes. You know what I mean? Well, because if he's fit to play, because let's say Kiefer Moore goes up for a header in the first 30 seconds and bangs heads, gets stretched off. Who's coming on?
Yeah. Glatzel, come on.
So he's coming on for 89 minutes. So he's fit. He's 100% fit. And if he's fit to come on after a minute, he's fit to start. And I can't justify that. It's a rubbish comment.
Yeah, I think it's him just trying to justify the fact that he's changed back to changed back to something which hasn't been successful from something which was successful on Tuesday.
Yeah.
A couple of really interesting comments and questions straight away. Reese says, we've got Benkovic and he's not even on the bench again. You could stick him at the back, you could put Nelson at right back, you could drop Pack, you could play Bakuna if you play 4-5-1, but you can't play Pack because if you've got a back four because he sits so deep. But like I'm going to talk about Pack a bit later because he has rightly come in for a lot of criticism over the last few months. I thought he was pretty good last Saturday. He was one of the better players in a very poor performance. Another one is Rye asks, is Neil Harris the right man to take Cardiff City to the next level? No. Next question.
First of all, I'd like to talk about Benkovic and ask a bigger question. What do Leicester City think about what's happening to him? You know what I mean? Because surely they're asking questions of, I thought he went to play. What's he doing every day? He might as well now be back at his parent club, training with the Premier League players,
reserve team football,
playing some kind of football. Because surely the football what he would have been playing. No disrespect to Cardiff City was under 23s, by the way, but he would have been best off playing for Leicester's than he would be playing for Cardiff's. Surely, in my opinion.
Yeah. Cardiff have got a history of doing this with loan players as well, where they sign these loan players and then they don't play them.
Thank God they didn't do it to me.
Or mate, they've got I can't remember who it was. Was it Zaha? Oh, someone like quite a big name came to Cardiff for a short loan, and he barely played. But you know, it is what it is. I'm not saying that necessarily the Benkovic should play, but could that money, that loan money or whatever the fee they paid for him, you know, to get him in, because they would have paid something, could that have gone to someone who is going to play? Because he, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't played yet.
It's a bad decision. So you can go back to the last weekend QPR game. Defensively, they were all over the place with some of the goals. You know what I mean? So surely,
terrible, mate.
He's got to be given an opportunity to showcase what he can do. He must be looking at it thinking, how many goals have they got to let in order for me to get an opportunity? Is 3 not enough? Is 4, 5? Well, come on. You've got to be given an opportunity.
Ravel Morrison, that was it. They signed him, and then I don't know. I think he played like a handful of substitute appearances. Now I'm like Morrison.
In defence of Ravel Morrison, no one else has played him. Middlesbrough didn't play him either. So I think it's a bigger.
Don't sign him, innit? Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
If you're gonna sign someone like that, who you know, yes, they could be trouble, they could be problematic off the pitch, but when you put them on the pitch, they can do something special.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
play them or don't bother. It's ridiculous. Do you think Neil Harris is the man to take Cardiff to the next level?
On current performances and what he's showing everybody, he's no. And you know, I'm sorry to be brutally honest, and you know, what I mean, he's an ex-teammate of mine, but he's, for me, Si, I look at the best sides in the league who keep the same side week in, week out, and Norwich City, who was strong, Stoke City, who was strong, Swansea City, who was strong. They're strong because they're keeping the same team, and players who aren't in the
find
team,
something which works, don't they?
Yeah, people who aren't in the team will understand why they're not playing, and when they do play, they'll know they'll be given a fair chance. At the minute, I see this rotation. I hate rotation. You know what I mean? I know people won't be surprised with that, but rotation for me is it's like a swear word, because if I'm playing scoring goals, I expect to play. Simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I play well and when my team wins, I expect to play. And I feel sorry for those who don't.
So Reese again with the cracking comments. He says Harris is complaining about the lack of depth at right back, but we've known that for 2 or 3 seasons that we needed a right back, and he signed one and a loan, and it's problematic, mate. You know, Aidan Flint went to Wednesday on loan. Rob says, I'm not sure if he's ever been asked, but have you ever fancied a job in management? Obviously, you had a little stint, didn't you?
Yeah, I got my fingers burnt once. It was different than what I thought. I don't think I was ready to go in. I think I was pushed in on an opportunity that arose quicker than I expected. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I can understand why it's seen as very stressful, because you don't enjoy winning because you don't have time. You take losing to heart. Players are horrible. You know what I mean? That comes from an ex-player. You know what I mean? The players are very selfish, very greedy, and yeah, it's such a different side of football. You know what I mean? And I saw it. Didn't really enjoy it that much, and but I'm glad to give it a go. I've got no regrets that I tried, and enjoyed it. Had some success, but then failed as well. So I had a good opportunity at it.
Yes, I think. And the thing is, mate, it's not for everyone, is it? At the end of the day.
No, listen. Good play. What did they say? Good players don't always make good managers. You know. So, you know what I mean. People say Brian Robson didn't do a good job at Middlesbrough. I disagree. But because he was, for me, he was a world class footballer. People say they don't. You know, people don't think they can be a world class manager, and you know what I mean. People say that Jurgen Klopp wasn't a great player, but is a world class manager. Mourinho. Yeah,
there's a lot.
You know what I mean. You can go down, but Brian Clough for me was a very good player, if not a world class footballer, and then for me he was an excellent manager. So you know what I mean. There's always people who slip through the net, but there's also you can't really make those silly comments. Managers different to playing, so different.
It is indeed. So let's move on to the kind of the championship news of the week. Bit of a shout out to Welsh international Sean McDonald of Rotherham. Rotherham midfielder who broke his leg in the week out till the new year. Last Saturday, it's the nasty injury. So condolences really to him. He's going to miss a large chunk of the season.
It's awful, side, because you know what I mean. You've got players, and I feel more sorry for him because he's just got promoted to the championship, and he's going to miss a full season in the division which he's worked all his career to go and play back into. You know that he's worked hard to get up to into that level, and now he's going to miss a whole chunk, if not the whole season, because it's not just about being injured. It's recovery. It's then getting your fitness up. There's just not enough time now for a professional footballer to get back to that level, and I just hope he gets speedy recovery, gets fit, and but more importantly gets fit to play at the level he wants and can play at, because you know I know these injuries can be really brutal at times.
Indeed. Derby manager Philip Cocu is self-isolating after, I think it was the chairman got COVID, was it? Let's have a look. Chief Executive Stephen Pearce tested positive for COVID. So
probably caught it off Rooney.
Yeah.
Probably caught it off Rooney.
I don't think they would say if they did. Do you know why? Because I don't think they'd want the negative attention.
They don't need any more side. They've had enough of it for the last 2 years. It's constant for Derby County at the minute.
Rob says he's sorry for changing the subject, but Ojo makes him want to rip out his hair.
He's going to make mistakes, but he does overplay because he's confident, and he instead of taking 2 men on and crossing the ball or passing it, he'll try and take 3 on and get tackles. I know everyone's pointing. I know.
But that's
a brilliant
what
point.
young players do, isn't it? They make those decision-making mistakes quickly. Early on, should I say? And that's the risk you take with young players, is that they're learning on the job.
But he's very good, Si, and he's going to make mistakes. But I'd probably prefer somebody like that who wants to play and who's improving than potentially Mendes Lang, who who didn't really pull up any trees and was just as frustrating as a signed player.
At least you've got the potential and the hunger to play and work hard for the team. I agree with you. To be honest, I'd rather have young players in there who want to desperately play and make their mark in a short space of time than getting some journeymen who haven't quite got it anymore.
No, I totally agree.
Whatnot.
Totally
but
agree.
then there's also a balance to everything, isn't there, as well? Right, let's go on with the championship roundup. We'll come back to Cardiff when we get to them. Sheffield Wednesday, first of all, mate.
Well, they've had a shocking week. Obviously, started the weekend. They had the 6-pointer against Wickham Wanderers. Got beat 1-0. You know what I mean? Yes, they've had some good news in the week, which has got them some points back, which I'm going to go onto a little bit later on. But then, obviously, the joys of the Championship side. Then they're going to play a team who got relegated from the Premier League and beat them 1-0 with a clean sheet. So it's just the whole thing of the Championship. Obviously, is just madness. Yes, Steve Cook got sent off and Barry Banham scored the penalty. And when you're on about composure and technique, Barry Banham just fits both of those modes perfectly. And under pressure, it was a huge penalty at that time of the game. And listen, yes, Sheffield Wednesday, they're still in the bottom 3, but the league table now looks a lot more healthier for them. With those 6 points back, and do I think they deserve them? I'll explain later on. But the league table now does look a little bit better. A win in the weekend potentially gets them out the bottom 3, and they could go on because listen, they're a massive club. They've got some very good footballers. I know Aidan Flint's just had an operation on his hamstring, and they've got some games coming up: Millwall tomorrow, Preston, and Swansea. They've got some tough games. But would you be surprised if they won all 3? I wouldn't. But they could also lose all 3 again, so it's just the joys of the Championship.
Mate, EFL, laughable. What's the point? What's the point in them? They don't know what they're doing. They change their mind at the I can't even get into that now. I'll wait until you have your say on it later on.
Wait.
But
Wait.
It infuriates me, mate. Their Cardiff have switched to 4-4-2 in the second half with Glatzel on.
Yeah. Pointless. Yeah, you're chasing the game now, so you're going to leave gaps. So there's going to be more gaps to be held for Bristol City going forward now.
Ojo's gone off. Next up is Derby County.
I had to play Bournemouth at the weekend side. They were 1-0 up through a very good goal by Shinnie, and then Riquelme equalised for Bournemouth late on. And then you go into midweek at home to QPR thinking 4 points in a week, what an amazing week that would be. And you just play terrible, and you lose a goal in the final couple of minutes through Macaulay Bourne, and the whole thing is just a big mess at Derby. Same thing for Neil Harris for me. Koku makes some silly changes after a positive display at Bournemouth. You make more changes. You bring Wayne Rooney in. Did he deserve to come in? Not after a result like that and performance like that, in my opinion. Yes, he's a very good footballer, but for me, you play the same side if you've impressed and you played well, because it creates fractions in the changing room, in the dressing room, in the group for me. And the manager's not going to get any respect out of his players if he keeps on making changes after a good performance and result. And for me, QPR were excellent, by the way. I watched extended highlights and bits and bobs from the game. And Macaulay Bonne, we've said this, that he's going to be a very good signing from Charlton. And Charlton have lost a very good player who wanted to come back up to the Championship level, and he's doing okay.
Yeah, Derby's it's difficult to put your finger on quite what's going wrong there. And I've said it a lot over there since Rooney came in last Christmas. Has Koku been undermined by Rooney in the long term coming in? I don't know. Like, obviously he gave him a lift, I know that, but I don't know, they can't get it together. And like traditionally over the years, Derby County have always been in the playoffs, around the playoffs, come the end of the season, and then they fall off a bit. But the last 2 seasons, I think, they've been nowhere near.
No, they've been dreadful.
That's problematic for the club. and I don't think that you can keep doing that. Like, I don't think you can just because Philip Cocu is this big name in European football, I don't think they can just give him unlimited time and just have Derby floating around the bottom half, not in the relegation battle, but not in the playoffs either.
I think that the league's that tight for me, side, that if you make a decision now and you push the club forward, you've got an opportunity to push forward and potentially get in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because the gap's not that big. Whereas if they leave it 5-10 more games, there's 30 points potentially down the way. I'm not having that. If he's done well, he's not on the bench.
Yeah, Elliot there says Rooney will be boss soon. How would Andy have felt if a teammate got the gaffer job?
Well, it happened to me when I was different level, non-league football. I became manager of the team that I was playing for, and I struggled because I was a teammate and then all of a sudden a manager, and you know what I mean, that those players that I used to go out and have a couple of pints with, I'm then friends with, I'm now a manager of, and it's difficult, really difficult. And I'm not saying Wayne Rooney has that same problem, but he will be close to some people as players, and will he have that affiliation to pick them and play them? I think sometimes for me, I think it's been handled wrong. That if he was going in there automatically be a coach or manager, go and be a coach or a manager. You know what I mean? Or stay a player, and then if you get a manager's job, you get a manager's job. I think it's difficult to do both.
Yeah, it is. It really, really, I would think it's going to be very difficult for him to go in, because he spent a year being one of the boys, and then all of a sudden he might have to run the rule over there. You know, tell him not to go out or not to do this or not to do that, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it all pans out at Derby. Next up is Wickham Wanderers, who had a very, very, very good week. What
a week indeed. And obviously a good friend of the show. Had a fantastic week with a couple of strong performances. Obviously, I will say get well soon to Gareth Ainsworth. He's had an operation on his back. He missed both games, which is disappointing to miss his both wins this season so far. Had a bit of an accident at the training ground, and has had an operation on his back. So wish Gareth obviously well and a speedy recovery and get well soon. But yeah, to beat Sheffield Wednesday, which I wasn't surprised in, but then to go to Birmingham City and turn the game around on its head after going behind to win the game was absolutely fantastic. You know, they should have been ahead. Thought Nathan Etheridge was absolutely fantastic in goal for Birmingham. Joe Jacobson, how he didn't score in the first half is beyond me, from a run and then a free kick, which was beyond belief. But then, I spoke to him a couple of days ago, and he was delighted with the 3 points and would have rather won the 3 points than got himself a goal in the Championship, which just shows the credit of the I was going to say young lad there, but he's not young anymore, is he? He's a grown man. So listen, fantastic week, and it gives them an opportunity now to kick on side and see if they can emulate the Rotherhams, the Coventries, and the Luton Towns.
Like Wickham, with a bit of luck, they could have been on a four wins on the bounce, because I felt like they should have beaten Norwich. They could have beaten Watford, and then obviously they've had these 2 wins on the bounce. So there were signs in those games that they were starting to get it together. They did okay against Reading. Yeah. So against those 3 big teams in Reading, Norwich, and Watford, they did pretty well, and then they followed that up with 2 excellent performances against Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham, and they're the games they'd have had their eye on after those big, the games against Watford, Norwich, Reading. They'd have known those were tough games, but they'd have looked ahead to Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham and think, they're there. That's where we need to get our points. And I'm sure
which is a sign of a good team.
Beforehand they'd have probably said 4 points from these 2 games and we'll be happy. So to come and get 6, I think, is exceptional.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, look, Mr. Brown is back. Haven't seen him for a while.
Okay.
Adam. And who we got next then, mate? Let's have a look.
Coventry City.
Where's my table gone? Coventry City, indeed.
Friday night, we spoke about how Reading were going to beat Coventry. Obviously, didn't materialise. Coventry turned them over. Obviously, the first defeat.
Some people in the chat said they.
Yeah, they said yeah. So the first defeat for Reading, which is a fantastic result. And then they go to Midlands derby against Nottingham Forest during the week, and they go 1-0 down to get themselves level. And then I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Lyle Taylor, he went over extremely soft for the penalty in the 96th minute, but then he took this penalty with absolute just amazing confidence and composure, and yeah, just fantastic. But disappointing for Coventry, because I think the 4 points would have been huge for them, especially against the two sides that they played against. You know, they don't get any bigger than Reading and Nottingham Forest in that division, so fantastic.
Big shout out, thanks to Elliot there. First one to purchase a super sticker thing, which is available. They're all available on YouTube now, like super stickers and super chats. Nice. Appreciate that. But yeah, Lyle Taylor, you're right. He went down very, very easily, but took the penalty beautifully, as it were.
Listen, Si, if that's my team, I'm wanting a penalty. But if that's against you, I'm not. But you know, what I mean, you can't really argue.
Yeah, what do you think of Coventry's week and their, not just the results, but their performances? Like, how do you think they're doing? So far? I
think they're doing all right. The problem they've got, Si, is letting goals in. Four goals in a week is alarming. You know, and they've scored 4 goals themselves. So, you know, I mean, I don't think going forward, Mark Robbins will have too many concerns. I think he's quite happy, but they've got to get the fine balance between attack and defence. And at the minute, it's gung ho going forward, and then they're leaving gaps in defence. And you've 96 minutes, Si. You're drawing 1 all away at Nottingham Forest. Just shut up shop. You don't need to attack. Put the ball in the corner. See it out for a draw. And just go home with the points. That point could be massive come the end of the season.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Rob just asked, what the hell is a super sticker? So on YouTube, when you get to like 1,000 subscribers, people can...
I'm glad Rob asked that.
Send like super... So basically, it's like tips, basically. Just stuff like that. So, I don't know. I haven't really looked at it, to be honest. It's been a busy week, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Can't fault it. What else was there? Someone else said something. Joe Rawls just missed a big chance. Elliot says world-class insight.
Of course.
And lots of people saying, why the hell is he only now going to 4-4-2? And Ryan says, changing the team every game doesn't help, which obviously we talked about just a minute ago. Like, it's not going to help the players ultimately, is it? Next up is Forest, mate. They finally got a win.
Yeah, well, I watched them on Saturday against Middlesbrough. It was a boring game. Yeah, but it is a boring game. But watching them, being a Middlesbrough fan at times, but I was disappointed with the way that Forest obviously set up. I speak about teams playing 4-4-2. I look at some of the players that they have. Yes, they were missing Lewis Grabban, but then to not play Lyle Taylor, I thought was very negative. You know, they played Guerrero up front. I didn't think had a very good game at all. I thought he wasn't, his movement wasn't very good. He didn't cause any problems, and Nottingham Forest sat back, and then eventually Middlesbrough got the late goal, and they had nobody to blame but themselves. But you know what I mean, I seen a difference in them against Coventry side that they kept going till the end, and obviously the team selection was different. That Lyle Taylor started and he played a full game and he got his reward right at the end. And how can Lyle Taylor, Lewis Grabban, anybody score goals if you're not playing? It's just we talk about the Cardiff City problems. For me, they've got 2 very good Championship centre forwards, but they need to both be playing if they're going to score goals. Yes,
you can't. This is what we were saying about Glatzel, mate, isn't it? You can't score if you're on the bench. You can't affect the game if you're on the bench. And yeah, it was weird though, wasn't it, to see them sign Lyle Taylor, and then they weren't playing him and Grabban together, which. And then when they seem to have done all right.
Be different if they spent money on him, I believe. I believe because they got him on a free transfer, they see that as different business, but they're paying him more wages, so it adds up the same value in the end. So for me, they need to play him. His value is being on the pitch scoring goals, and for me, I think they need more goals.
Yeah. Be interesting if Forest can pull it round, because they've had a dreadful start really to the season, to be fair, and obviously we've talked about the mental effect of the end of last season maybe having an effect on this season. I think is probably the case. Next up was Rotherham.
Yeah, they've had
a mixed week.
Yeah, not a great week. 2 1-0 defeats. Got beat by Stoke City away from home, which was always going to be a tough game, and then they play against Luton Town, and James Collins pops up with a winner. Poor defending from a wide cross, and listen, they don't score enough goals. We've said this after a very good win against Sheffield Wednesday 3-0. You know what I mean? They follow up with a tough week. You know, you can't afford to have weeks like this because obviously it just causes problems, and it causes negativity around the place, and you go into the next game lacking more confidence, etc. So I do fear for a Rotherham, because I look at the bottom teams below them. Nottingham Forest will be ahead of them. Derby County, I think, will be ahead of them. Sheffield Wednesday will be ahead of them. So there's not that many teams who I can guarantee will be ahead of them coming into the season. So it's going to be a long season, I think, for Rotherham, because they don't score enough goals.
Yeah, and defensively they're
they're poor,
all over the shop, mate, to say the least. Barnsley, oh dear.
Yeah, well, Si, listen, you've got such a mixed week here. So you go and beat Watford at home on Saturday. You had an early winning goal by Mowat. Excellent, held on. I think, you know what I mean. That I thought Watford probably could have and probably should have got the equaliser towards the end, but it didn't come from anything. And then you go and play Cardiff City, get dominated, get blown out the water by 4-4-2 and lose 3-0. Just men against boys, and I think they'll be massively disappointed with that. And obviously, games got moving forward and coming forward. You've got Derby County who are below them. You got Nottingham Forest who are just below them, and then you've got some really tough games: Brentford, Blackburn, Birmingham. So you've got some absolutely outrageous games coming up, and if they don't pick some points up, you know what I mean, it's going to be even more of a struggle than it was last year's side. Because we spoke about last year, they couldn't keep clean sheets, but they scored enough goals. They seem to have switched. You know what I mean? They don't create as many chances as they used to, and they're not scoring enough goals. And teams always are going to score against them. So I do hope, because Barnsley's a really good football club. I always have good times there. I always enjoy playing at Oracle. So it's a massive club, and hopefully they can turn things around. We've got a new manager, and he's going to take him time to embed his ideas and implement them in the way that we're moving forward. But let's see if you can do it.
It's very strange, isn't it? Like, they played well against, or they did alright against, got a draw against Stoke, played well against Millwall, beat QPR, who've QPR, by the way, have then gone on and won a couple of games.
Yeah.
They beat Watford, and you're thinking, right, now they're building up a head of steam, and then they just went off a cliff versus Cardiff. It's a very strange one, mate, but they've got a very small squad. And I think that could be problematic for them later on the season. They're so reliant on like one, maybe two players to score their goals, that if those players get injured or, you know, just out of form, it becomes almost like a race to find someone to strike in. Speaking of falling off a cliff, Blackburn Rovers, what's happened to them? You're muted, mate.
Terrible week, mate. Yeah, they got beat by Swansea at the weekend. Really poor performance. And then I watched them against Middlesbrough in the week, and they really struggled. Middlesbrough dominated against them, and I was just really surprised with with how they lacked creativity. They didn't get on the ball. They didn't put the ball in the good areas. Yes, they were missing Armstrong, who was obviously a big player for them. You know what I mean? He's a huge miss. Stewie Down has just gone back in time for them, so he'll give them a bit more creativity. Obviously, you've still got your Bradley Dack, who's not there, but you've still got your Lewis Holtby, who didn't dominate the game like he has done in previous weeks. And does he need better players around him? But I did think, and I do think, the Blackburn Rovers are underachieving and should be doing a lot better. They're not scoring enough goals, and they can't be judged side with a one-man band for a young centre forward of Armstrong.
Well, mate, I was tipping them to really make a push this year and get towards going up with the side they had already, the players they brought in. I felt like this could be their time, and they started off well, and then they've just fallen off a cliff completely.
One win in 6 games is not good enough.
And when you look at their side, it's full of quality players.
Yeah, it's
bizarre. QPR, on the other hand, had a great week.
Fantastic week. Played Cardiff City. Played Cardiff City the weekend. Beat them 3-2, 2-0 up.
Got a 2-0 head start.
Yeah, Cardiff brought it back. Obviously, give 2 penalties away, and then they had the desire to go back up the end side. They didn't just be happy with the point and scored the winning goal. And obviously, we spoke a little bit about the Derby game with Macaulay Bond scoring the winning goal, and I thought they were the best side in that game. And 6 points at this stage of the season is a huge boost, and it gives them an opportunity to progress on and kick on, because the win at the weekend, it can put them just outside the playoffs. You know what I mean? They have another week like this, it can put them inside the playoffs, if not higher. So I think they'll be delighted with the week that they've had.
Yeah, you can't couldn't have better really. The on paper, when you've got Cardiff and Derby coming up, to come away with 6 points, I think for any team is it's a big week. And they defend. I think I said last week, if they can sort out their defence, I think they could be, they'll be comfortable in this league, and maybe even with a bit of luck go towards the playoffs. They should be nowhere near the relegation zone if they can just sort out the leaky defence, mate. Huddersfield Town.
I can't work them out. You know what I mean? We raved about them a couple of weeks ago after a couple of wins. They go to Millwall. Probably didn't expect them to get anything. Mate. Yeah, and then I go to Millwall. Didn't expect them to get anything. They go and beat them 3-0, which is an absolutely fantastic result. They were 1-0 ahead. 2 late goals. Obviously, they catch Millwall on the break. Millwall are trying to... But then they go against Bristol City. Yes, Bristol City were a good side, but 1-0 ahead, and you just fold in the last 15 minutes, and you just can't afford to do that against anybody. Just sometimes saying that, and I've said it earlier on about some teams in this season, that do you need to go gung-ho and get that second goal, or can you just shut up shop, have good formation, good 2 banks of 4, and be solid and hard to beat? And sometimes teams think they've got to score 2, 3s and 4s to get promoted. You don't. You just need to win games, and the managers like Aitor Karanka, for example, very successful at doing that kind of job, and you know what I mean. He just needs teams like Huddersfield to seem to follow suit, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We seem to be cursing these teams like Huddersfield and Forest and Blackburn. As soon as we say they're doing well and they could go on and do something, they fall off a cliff.
But one thing I will say about Huddersfield, though, Si, is listen,
as well. Bristol.
Chalk and cheese, Huddersfield. Listen, the start they made last year, you know what I mean. This is an excellent season so far. You know what I mean. So if they can go on the run like they went on last year, towards the middle of the end of the season, they'll have a chance to get in the playoffs because they had a really strong start, really strong end. So you know what I mean. It's not doom and gloom. It's just the inconsistency for some sides.
A couple of quick looks at the comments. Elliot says he really rates Huddersfield. Just take him a bit of time. Colin Ward says Boro look hard to beat, but worry they won't score enough goals to be in the mix. Kelly says Warnock lost to Bristol this time last year and walked. Is history going to repeat itself? I don't see Neil Harris walking. I think Cardiff will have to.
That's a good start, though. It's a good start.
It's really interesting.
It's a good start. That it's a really good way to look at it. I'll just answer a couple of those. Neil Warnock's doing great. Listen, he does what he says in the tin. He's journeyman-like. He's hard to beat. It's not pretty, but it's effective, and it wins football matches, and potentially it gets teams promoted. So, will I complain? I won't complain, no. But the Premier League's a different animal, you know. And Cardiff City found that out to their detriment. Bristol City shutting up shop. Listen, you know what I mean. I've just said there about do you need that second? Do Bristol City need a second goal in this game? No, they don't.
No. And what did I say earlier on? Is you go and win the game, you get your goal, and then you fart about, for lack of a better term. You don't set out to not lose, and then have to chase the game and have to change your tactics completely. Yeah.
Listen, Si, as a football fan, every Cardiff City fan who watches this, every football fan who watches this in their team, you will swallow and take a defeat if you see your side trying to win a football match and you don't win it because you've been beaten by a better side. What you can't handle and you don't like is when you sit back and be beaten by a side and you've never seen your team have a go. You know what I mean? And I don't like that. You know what I mean? As a centre forward, I would be frustrated if I was sat on the bench and seeing negative tactics. If I was in the team and I didn't get the ball, I'd be asking why. You know, I need the ball. I need the ball forward early the better. You know, and that's in the first minute. It's direct. It's frustration. We're all frustrated, and every football fan gets the same. But it's the joy of being a football fan, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. Next, Birmingham City. So they had 2 losses this week.
No, they beat Preston North End at the weekend 2-1.
Did they?
Yeah.
I do apologise.
Yes, on Saturday, they scored the winning goal with 5 minutes to go. Gary Gardner, which
Oh, that's right.
was
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic result to go there. You know, Preston no mugs and Aitor did a great job. But then you go to the Wickham game, probably over complacent, took them for granted, went 1-0 ahead, thinking the game's over, and then all of a sudden you find yourself at a defeat and for Birmingham probably an embarrassing defeat, because it should have been 3 wins out of 3 and flying up that table. But I know we've had a little question in the group side asking what do we think about Aitor Karanka. I think he's a great manager for this level. I think he knows the division, he knows players what work in this division, he knows formations, he knows the style of play and football which get out this league, similar to Neil Warnock but with a little bit more of an attacking twist. It's not pretty. It's just not 300 goals a season. It's not, you won't let loads in, but it's a way which gets you going and gets you playing effectively in this league.
Yeah, I mean, Cardiff fans, but in the chat and Facebook, are just bemoaning the not taking chances, mate. Geraint says if we had Chopper and Bothroyd up front, we'd be 4 up. Gavin said Harris is clueless.
But let's go back that question side. So if we'd had Bothroyd and Chopper up front, we'd be 4-0 up.
Yeah.
But one of them would be on the bench.
Yeah.
So
probably Chopper would be on the bench, or Bothroyd would be up front or something.
So this is the thing. This is the problem. What we're focusing on. We're chasing the game now. You know, I mean, we shouldn't be chasing the game. That's my point. That's the point I think we're trying to make. That if we'd have had two up front, the game would have been different for me.
Yeah, and I think I've said numerous times this season on both shows, as a manager, any manager, not just the Cardiff manager should be. Any manager should be playing the tactics that suit the players they've got, not what their vision of football is, and forcing the players into that formation. Now, to me, at the moment, the players which Cardiff City have got better suit a 4-4-2 than they do a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-5-1. You know, and maybe I'm wrong, but judging by how the season's going, and then when we did play 4-4-2, we're on to Cardiff anyway now. So,
listen, Si, Man City can do it. They can win the league. They can do well in the Champions League. But it's personal. It's different players. You know what I mean? Not every team is the same, and it's not one dimensional. It's about playing to your strengths. And for me, I look at Cardiff City's strengths, and Cardiff City's strengths are you've got 2 monsters of centre forwards. Yeah, so
Ivan Toney's awful compared to Andy Campbell.
Well, to be honest, that's a big statement, because
you're a big fan of him, aren't you?
Carry on watching the show, because Ivan Toney is. Listen, I would have loved to play up front with Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney reminds me a little bit of like Leo Fortune West. That he's big and he's tall and he's unpredictable, and he gets the goals. He misses chances, but he gets goals.
Indeed. Cardiff is QPR. This is the problem. Cardiff keep giving teams 2-1-2 goals leads. What's the point?
Any goal leads.
He's always chasing the game.
Yeah.
And I didn't think they deserved anything from the QPR game. I'm going to talk about Marlon Pack in that game, because rightly being criticised throughout the season and last season, but I thought he was one of the better players there in the QPR game. Barnsley then for Cardiff was an excellent performance, change of shape, change of tactics, and what a surprise. It's no shock, is it? You know?
Yeah. Listen, Si, I agree. I was disappointed on Saturday when the first 2 goals went in. I was having nightmares, because I did say on Friday that we can't have another result like we had last year with the 5 or 6-1 result, I think it was, and when it was 2-0, I was thinking, oh no, please don't. That's the kiss of death. And obviously Joe got 2 penalties. His first one was very good. His second one was terrible. But obviously got the rebound. Scored his second goal. But then we've just said it about other teams' side. You're 2-0 down. You've worked your absolute socks off to get back at 2-2. Just shut up shop and see the game out. You don't need to go. You don't need to go and try and win it now. You've got yourself back from nothing. You've earned a point from nowhere. Just take a point, run, and you've stole a point. And it would have been a great point. 4 points in a week. QPR away from being 2-0 down in Barnsley at home would have been a great, you know what I mean? But listen, the lads resurrected themselves. They had a great performance. The manager changed the formation, like you said. It was fantastic. But then we've got tonight, so we're starting off on a bad week at the minute.
Yeah, and excuse me, sorry. I haven't been able to watch much of the game tonight. The bits I've seen, we haven't particularly been very good.
I'm glad I'm not watching the second half by all accounts. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, indeed. Next up, Preston North End, my friend.
I can't work them outside for me because they're from what happened last year. I think they were disappointed. You know what I mean, from not getting in the playoffs. They played Birmingham City at home, which I still probably would have expected them to win. Get beat 2-1, disappointing, and then you go into a game midweek, probably lacking confidence, away from home against the top of the league, and then you go and smash them 3-0, which is a fantastic display. But they're all set for breakaway football. Preston, Barkhausen, you've got Scott Sinclair. They've got pure pace in their side, and I'm a really big fan. If they could be a little bit more consistent or not ship the goals in like they do, they'd have an opportunity.
Spot on, mate. Stoke City.
Stoke have had a decent week. I think they've had a good week. They beat Rotherham on Saturday 1-0, and they lost on Tuesday or Wednesday against Watford. But anybody who watched the game, keep watching because I'm going to have a little bit of a rant later on because one of those goals was an absolute disgrace. Some of the goals that the Stoke City scored, Nick Powell in particular, absolutely excellent goal. Yes, listen, they shouldn't let 3 goals in. And they've got, but for me, on paper side, they've got the best squad in the division, and I'll be very surprised if they're not up there and achieving a little bit more come the end of the season.
Spot on, mate. Can't fault you there. Stoke, yeah, like on paper, mate, they should be almost running away with it, but
yeah,
it don't work like that, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. Next up, Brentford.
Or should we start calling him Ivan Toney FC because he's taken to the Championship like a duck in water. He's just been absolutely fantastic. He scored a goal against Luton Town on Saturday. He scores the equaliser against the first goal in the draw against Swansea. He's just leading the line really well, Si, and he's not feeling the pressure. You know, they've obviously lost Ollie Watkins, they've lost Ben Rama. I think Canos for me is doing really well. He's direct. And Wemo as well, who I'm a big fan of. Do I think they'll be up there? Yes, I do. Do I think they'll get promoted? Probably no, I don't, because I think they've lost too much quality and not reinvested in the squad unless they spend some of that money which they've got into the club in January. But listen, it's a hard place to go to. They score some goals, by the way. 17 goals in 10 games they've scored. It's just every time they go forward, they look like they're going to score goals. But when I say 17 goals, side, and then round about Ivan Toney, you know, he's scored in his last 3 games, and then he didn't score 1, and then he scored 6 in his previous 3 before that. So it's just.
Well, Raj just asked, do you think Brentford are missing Watkins and Ben Rama?
No.
At the moment,
not going forward. No, I think they've got enough good players, but of course they're missing them. They're missing them because how better could they be with those in the side? You know that Ivan Toney up front with Ollie Watkins, with Ben Rama one side and Wemo the other. For me, that doesn't get any better. So are they missing him? Yeah, of course they are. But 17 goals speaks for itself. So I don't think you can be disrespectful to the lads who are scoring goals. But they're letting a lot more goals in, which is having a huge impact. Because look at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough have let 5 goals in the season side. Brentford have let in 12. So there's a massive difference there.
There's a big difference, isn't it? And then next up is Luton. They had a mixed week. They lost 3-0 to Brentford and then beat Rotherham 1-0.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at your game side for me, and the Luton game, the Luton Rotherham game for me is the game that you probably need to pick your points up. And James Collins, he's making a name for himself in the Championship again this season, like he did last season, and got the winning goal from a set piece from a cross in the box and volleyed it home. Great finish, and you can see how much it meant to the players and to the manager to get that win, because that was a huge win against the side below them.
Yeah. Full on, mate. They made a good start to the season, though. Been quite impressed with them.
Yeah.
Millwall, mate, as well. They made a good start, and then they've had a really bad week.
Yeah, bad week this week. No goals. 3-0 defeat against Watford and a 0-0 draw against Norwich, which looks like a good result, but when you're off the back of a 3-0 defeat, 1 point out of 2 games is not good enough for a side like Millwall. You know, I mean, they've got goals in the side. and to not score again in 2 games is disappointing for them, especially after coming off the back of a 2-0 win against Preston. They'll be disappointed, but I'm sure they'll be well up for the Sheffield Wednesday game tomorrow, and then play Cardiff City the week after.
Shows how dependent they're on, which all teams are, on their main strikers, their main forwards.
Yeah.
You know, Wallace hasn't scored for a few games, and Millwall's form has kind of dropped off a little bit.
Yeah.
Next up is the mighty Middlesbrough, my friend.
Yeah, just very defensive. I always feel as though they're going to win the game, though. I always feel that they've got a chance if they can just be composed in the right areas. Obviously, they beat Nottingham Forest at the weekend with a very late goal. They should have beaten Blackburn in midweek. They probably should have scored 2 or 3, but didn't have the composure to put the ball in the net. But listen, 4 points in a week against a very good side, 2 very good sides is enough for me.
I got a question for you, mate. Obviously, you watch Middlesbrough a lot more than me. I've seen a bit of them this year, and I think they're creating much more chances than they were under Woodgate last year.
Yeah.
That's a fair assumption. So does that mean they just need a striker who's going to regularly take those chances?
I think somebody said in the chat there, didn't they, about somebody that teams need someone who's going to score 10 or 15, 20 goals a season. If Middlesbrough has somebody, the game's finished there, by the way. If Middlesbrough have somebody who scored 15, 20 goals this season, Middlesbrough would guarantee the playoff place. With the way that they play and the way that they're set up, they would guarantee it, because there's 15 games that you're going to win, or there's 20 games that you're going to win 1-0, or there's games that you're going to score 2 in or 3 in. So you can afford to let goals in, but teams need those goal scorers, and the goal scorers cost a lot of money. And especially at the minute, you look at Ollie Watkins scored 25-30 goals last season in the Championship. He goes for 30 or 36 million pounds or whatever. So it just shows the gulf in how much Middlesbrough would have to spend, unfortunately.
Rye asks, do you think Boro will be up there?
I do believe they'll be up there. Listen, I would love Middlesbrough to get promoted to the Premier League, for the area and for the club, for Steve Gibson, for Neil Warnock, for the players. It'd be great. For the fans, it'd be amazing. It would take a huge amount of investment next season, which I don't think they've got, to stay in the Premier League. It's just, you look at sides like Villa, how much they spend, Southampton, you know what I mean? You look at the sides what came down, you look in Cardiff in the Division 2 years ago. Teams who don't invest get relegated, and it can have a bigger impact, by the way, because if you do invest on certain players, your wages and players, and you can't just sell them thinking, oh well, I'll sell them as a Premier League player. They have to impress at the same time, and it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're going to have an influx of Cardiff fans now, and very disgruntled. So we will go back to Cardiff. We're going to get through the rest of the teams now, our last couple, and then we'll go back to the Cardiff Bristol game. But next up, the one thing I was going to say about Boro is I would love to see Boro go up in the playoffs or something, so that Warnock could retire on that high of going up to the Championship.
I'd like that. That'd be good. Good way to go.
I'd love that. Yeah. Bournemouth, mate.
Yeah, tough week for them. A draw against Derby County. Obviously, they got a late goal by Riquelme, and then they got Sheffield Wednesday, and I fully expected them to go there and get a victory, because they've defended well. They've always got goals away from home, and they lose 1-0. Obviously, Steve Cook's going to get a suspension. Barry Banham scored the winning penalty with his lovely composure, but I think they put a little bit pressure on, obviously, King and Solanke for me every time they play. You know what I mean? When we watched them side, didn't we? And I think it was on a Friday night when the midfielder scored a couple of goals against Coventry City, and we've not seen enough of that. You know what I mean? They need goals from all over. David Brooks needs more goals, and other players need to bring in with more goals, because you can't just rely on one or two players. The good sides in this league score goals from everywhere. That's why Leeds got promoted last year.
It'd be interesting if this Rodrigo Riquelme, who's very highly rated, can get, he scored his first goal now. Maybe he can get a bit of run, give him some creativity going forward, because he's very highly rated. It's just he hasn't quite got going yet. But it takes time. Next up, Watford, mate. Mixed bag.
Mixed week. Got beat the weekend by Barnsley. Didn't do great, but then obviously the win against Stoke City through the week. Obviously went 1-0 down. They fought back through Tom Cleverley. I thought Tom Cleverley had a really good game, by the way.
Very good player.
Yeah, very good player. But obviously it's the goals. It's the goal which for me should never have been given. You know what I mean? But he's a very good player. The goal should never have been given, in my opinion. Pedro, I really like. I really do like. And then the winning goal from Sarr. He was a very good centre forward, by the way, and I think he'll get a lot of goals. He's underrated, and I think obviously with Troy Deeney, still waiting in the wings. He's not getting much game time. I'm not sure why. Is he not fit? Does he not want to be there? I don't know what's going on. Andrea Gray as well. So they've got goals in the team Watford to come. I think there's more to come from Watford.
Deeney's an interesting one because there was rumours that he wanted to go in the summer after they got relegated. He didn't, and I wonder whether obviously I'm just thinking out loud, but I do wonder whether he voiced his wish to go. No one made a firm move for him, and then he's kind of stuck there in a place where he's told the manager or whoever that that he wanted to go. I don't know. It's weird that he's not playing.
Besides, he's not going anywhere. The rules are the rules. He's going to have to stay till January. So for me, who's going to buy him if he's not playing? If he's not fit?
Yeah, but I just wonder whether that's why he's not playing. Is because it's a bit awkward because he said he wanted to go and then couldn't. Next up, Norwich, mate.
Listen, they go to Bristol City the weekend, early Saturday game. Comfortably beat them. They got at them straight away. We've just spoke there about teams getting at them. Pucky scored 2 goals in the first 14 minutes. They got their 3rd goal just before half time. Direct football, all action football. With attacking players. So for me, they've showed Cardiff today what should have been done last weekend. Because surely Cardiff City will have watched videos and things. But Norwich City played Millwall through the week. They had 27 shots on goal against Millwall. Didn't score. So that shows for me, yes, unlucky game, should have won the game. But listen, I'd rather that side that going to try and win it than being negative and sitting back.
Yeah, and just being a bore 0-0 draw.
And still having the same side, by the way, the same side as what played against Bristol City 4 days previous.
But you know why that is, don't you? Because they outplayed Bristol City.
It's consistent.
Good team. Beat them 3-1. So, the team's done well. I'm going to keep the same team.
Yep, totally agree.
It's not rocket
totally
science.
Agree.
So.
Totally agree.
I'll get to some of the comments now because a lot of them are about the Cardiff game. Next up is
Swansea. Listen, Si, I said a couple of weeks ago that they've got something right, they've got something going, and they are. Beat Blackburn Rovers quite convincingly last weekend. Yes, Blackburn aren't no great shakes at the minute, they're really struggling. They go to Brentford, go 1-0 down in the fight back. 4 points in a week against 2 very good sides is a fabulous weekend. Listen, we all have our quirks about Swansea City and don't want them obviously to do well, but credit where credit's due, and they're doing really well, and they're playing attacking football, and they're playing that Swansea way again, creating chances, attacking games, and they're doing it all without Brewster, obviously, who they've lost, a big player. So they're keeping clean sheets and they're scoring goals. So it's a recipe for success, that, unfortunately, the way we look at it.
And they got a good manager who's very tactically astute. So I want you to tell me about Bristol's week, but don't include tonight, because we'll go to that after the Reading game.
Shocking week. Got beat by Bournemouth 1-0. And then obviously,
feel worse,
and then obviously got heavily beaten by Norwich City. Norwich got at them. Norwich attacked them at home, and Norwich just dominated the full game and showed everybody how to dominate a game on a football pitch. And they've had a really bad week. And obviously going into this week's fixtures, probably dreading them.
Indeed, mate. Yeah, it's they must have gone into that game tonight thinking, oh God, the last team we want to play is like a rival in the form they were in, and then they get a nice easy start, a goal head start, as is tradition against Cardiff, and then they just have a nice easy defensive exercise for the rest of the night. But lastly, Reading, who were completely fallen off a cliff after looking unbeatable for a few games.
Yeah, terrible week. Obviously, they played Friday night. Obviously, we spoke about the game, and obviously some shocking goals to give away. And I looked at the Preston game side, and to be fair, they did okay for long periods. I thought first half they were a decent side, and then second half they just fell apart. And Danny Johnson missed a penalty for Preston. They went 1-0 down from Scott Sinclair, and then 2-0 down. There's about 20 minutes to go, and then they made things worse for themselves by attacking and leaving big gaps, and then Potts breaks away towards the end and makes it 3-0. And I just think sometimes just learn from your mistakes and just think, we've lost the game anyway. Why make it any worse? Why make it 3-4 when we don't need to make things and results look worse, because it affects confidence for me.
Yeah, and I mean we've talked a lot in today's show about the importance of confidence and momentum, and keeping a winning team going. Cardiff have been very up and down this season, and haven't kept the same side. They won against Barnsley in their best performance of the season, without a doubt. 3-0, clean sheet, 3 goals. Could have been a couple more with a bit of luck. And he's changed the side again, needlessly. And Cardiff are chasing a game after 2 minutes again. So we'll try and focus a bit more on the second half, obviously, because we've talked about the first half more. So if people want to give their views on the game, Kelly, for instance, says Jacob Murphy needs to give his brother some tips. He's doing all right for Newcastle this year. But what did you, from what you saw of that second half, mate? Anything stand out for you?
Not as good as the first side. You know that I think for me, it's confidence. It's players going into. For me, it's like more of a worried second half performance. That you're worried about the outcome, because you know what's coming. You know that they're just going to sit behind the ball, because you know that they've got the tails up, they're 1-0 ahead, and they're going to be hard to beat. And what's the best that you're going to get? You're going to get is a draw, you know, and that's not good enough for a Cardiff City side, you know what I mean? And I think I'm disappointed, frustrated, because who knows what would have happened if he'd have kept the same side, you know what I mean? And for me, you've got to give it a go, because you just never know.
Yeah, so Rob says there, Cardiff never break through the middle. All the attacks are slow. They give defences time to block up the defence. It's just slow.
I think we rely too much. We rely too much on. We put too much on emphasis on Lee Tomlin. You know what I mean? We've now got Harry Wilson. You know what I mean? I thought Junior Hollett through the week was excellent. Ojo's obviously a young boy. He's young. He's not a boy, but he's a young lad, inconsistent. But for me,
learning on the job, isn't he?
If you got Tomlin back in and Harry Wilson, you had 2 attacking players as well, and you can play them 2 off wide, they tuck in and play through the middle and slip balls, but they could also have the quality to put balls in the box. You know what I mean? So you're winning on both counts, because you can get long crosses from fullbacks. You can put balls from long and they pick up second balls. It's frustrating, because there's all these things that I'd love to see, but then when we do see them, you see it working and things go back to the way they were.
And it's almost, see, to me, Neil Harris seems very much like the kind of manager who, I don't know how to describe it, like it's like a comfort thing, whereby if things aren't going well, which they're obviously not going well this year, he reverts back to type. So he reverts back to what he feels has worked for him in the past, what he feels is the best way his teams have played. So he sets up to try and not lose the game. The problem being, every time he sets up like that for Cardiff, they concede early goals, 1 goal, 2 goal. So Cardiff, and then he's got to abandon those tactics that he reverts to anyway. Yeah. So why not play the tactics which suit the players you've got, get 2-0 up, and then revert to your go-to tactics, if you like.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree. For me, I want to see my side go for it. I want to see my side playing front foot football and
especially when you've got players like Tomlin, arguably one of the best number 10s the Championship's ever seen.
I'm not talking about going gung ho side and leaving 1 or 2 men at the back. I'm on about keeping your back 4 and keeping your 2 defensive midfielders and letting your 2 wingers attack and your 2 centre forwards play in the box. And I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, Reece says there, you've got a target man in Moore in the box, great with his head, and you've got the likes of Hoylett. Rather than stay wide and whip the ball in, he cuts inside all the time. It's very predictable. And that's one thing which has stood out for me in all 3 games this week. Not so much the Barnsley game, is so often you have Kiefer Moore isolated when he plays up front on his own, whether it's long balls straight up to him or the crosses come in, he's marked and no one else is around. And then in the first half, which I saw earlier when I was recording the other show, when Harry Wilson got into the box late, he did have a chance and it kind of bounced up a bit too high for him to get over. But so often Kiefer Moore is isolated on his own, whether it's from wide balls or long balls up front. So what's the point? Because if you've got no one around him, he can't do anything. He can't do anything with it.
But also say as well, like, you know what I mean? Like Junior Hoylett tucks inside because he's trying to get close and help out a centre forward.
But he also hasn't got the pace. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
He hasn't got the pace to go on the outside of it.
No. But then for me, if he's told to stay out wide, he doesn't have to beat his play. He can just whip balls in. Just cut back, whip balls in. If you've got 2 men up front and you know the support's there, you can put balls in from deep all the time. You just keep repetitively cross, and I guarantee you'll get more goals. And the centre forwards will love it, by the way, because it's the way they want to play.
Yeah, it makes me angry, mate, and I've been impressed with my ability to not swear over the last couple of weeks when I'm talking about Cardiff, because you know me, mate, when I'm not recording shows, I swear a lot. And I try not to swear too much on these shows. I do occasionally. Gaz says ups and downs, so I think he's getting a bit, how dare we not stick to schedule. Sorry, Gaz. Kelly says, dare I say, I think we have a poor midfield, no pace, no creativity, very predictable. I've been saying that since the end of last season, haven't I? About the lack of creativity, lack of pace.
Yeah.
Joe Rawls is a very good footballer, but he's not a number 10. He's not really an attacking midfielder. He's a technically gifted footballer who can kind of play in that central midfield role and keep the ball moving, and he can sometimes find a through ball or a ball behind the fullback for the wingers, but he's not like a Tomlin who's going to play that bit further forward, but he's also not a Marlon Pack who's just going to sit in front of the defence, which means you've got to find the right partner for him, and that's why I think he is better suited to a 4-4-2 in Joe Rawls. But you've got to play the pacey wingers, which you haven't got, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I think as I say, it's frustrating. I think the biggest picture for me is you've got to play 2 up front. You know what I mean? You've got to start with the focus, and if that's playing direct football from back to front,
okay,
play the 2 up front straight away.
Who's your wingers then? If you're playing 4-4-2 for Cardiff, who's your 2 strikers and who's your 2 wingers?
I'd play Murphy and I'd play Ojo.
Murphy and Ojo, and then you'd play Glatzel and Harris. Kiefer Moore, play Neil Harris up front. Kiefer Moore, who would you play in central midfield?
I would play Harry Wilson and Joe Rawls.
With Joe Rawls just playing maybe a little bit more defensive.
I'd play Joe Rawls in front of the back 4, and I'd tell Harry Wilson to support the attacking play. So I'd have a back 5.
Like basically a diamond, is it?
Yeah, basically.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So
I'd have one behind the 2, one sitting. But listen, you've got Bakuna, you've got Vaux, you've got Pack, 3 Championship midfielders on very good money who are going to sit on the backsides. But unfortunately, it is what it is.
We're going to talk about those now. Let's start with we'll come back to some of the questions now. 2 up, 2 down. Okay, mates, right? We'll go with 2 downs to start. Who's your first down?
My first down, you've caught me out here because I forgot which one it was. So my first down, I've gone for the referee and the linesman in the Watford against Stoke City game, because the goal from Tom Cleverley just shouldn't have been allowed, because there was an assault on the goalkeeper. How on earth they let it happen is just beyond me. The goalkeeper's been pushed into the goal, which he's had hold of the ball, and the ball's gone in the net, and I just don't understand how it was allowed. But it just shows the EFL to be amateurish at best, I think.
Yeah, so my downs are interesting, because I could quite easily have put Neil Harris in the up, but I could have quite easily put Neil Harris in the downs. Ups because he had finally kind of got the formation tactics right. Downs because he keeps giving sides a lead, as seen tonight, as seen last Saturday, and he also reverted back to the stupid one up front tonight. But technically tonight counts as next week, so I'm going to let him off. My first down is going to go to Reading, for a team who looked unbeatable literally a week ago.
Yeah.
They have absolutely gone to pieces.
Yeah.
They don't look the same side, mate. Tactically, defensively, everything just looks off.
Yeah,
and I don't know what's gone on there. Rubbish.
I agree.
Next, what was your second down, mate?
I've gone the EFL.
So this is a joint one.
Yeah, I've gone for giving back Sheffield Wednesday their 6 points, because they broke a rule in the summer. and they broke a rule on financial irregularity, and they broke the rules, and they were punished by the punishment, which was 12 points taken off, which they got 12 points taken off, and then all of a sudden they're being given 6 back after an appeal at the Court of Arbitration, and the EFL's given them back, which is an absolute disgrace, by the way. It just shows that they've got an inferiority and they're scared to fight fire with fire. If they've took it off them, then say it's rules are rules, because everyone else now could do it, and they've got to let them off with it. So they've now opened a can of worms, because what's 6 points, Si? 6 points is nothing. It's not a deterrent to break rules if you know that you're safe. For example, a team could finish 20 points clear and get 6 points deducted, and wipe all the death stuff. It doesn't matter. They've opened a can of worms for this now, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
It's not so with the 2 ups, 2 downs. Me and you, we make a thing that we never have the same ones. So if I pick the same one as you, or vice versa, one of us will change. Tonight, I'm not going to change. I'm going to stick with the EFL because I think it's a disgrace. I think it makes a mockery of what's the point in the financial fair play rules? What's the point in deducting Sheffield Wednesday, putting their team under a massive amount of pressure this season? Those players, the manager, everyone, the whole club, just to wipe it all out now. What was the need? And then the chairman's come out, or the Sheffield Wednesday owner, sorry, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, so I apologise. Jafon Chansiri, he said it's accepted the blame for the points deduction that the club started the season with. They were initially deducted 12 points from the start of the season for breaching the rules, right? With their accounts. They breached the rules. That hasn't changed. They still broke the rules.
He's agreed. He said he has.
He said it's his fault. The EFL have still said they've still broken the rules. Same with this Court of Arbitration. They haven't given them the points back because they've been ruled, or they got it wrong, you didn't break the rules. You've still broken the rules, but we're giving you the 6 points back. So what is the point? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's infuriated me, that has, and I'm going to clip that. Because everyone loves a good rant. Let's get more positive. 2 ups, mate. Come on, first one.
Ivan Toney, because I just think he's just missed the championship. He's having an amazing season, scoring goals. Scores every single week, and if he keeps going like this, he'll be a Premier League player by January, because why wouldn't every club want to sign a player who's scoring the amount of goals that he is?
Spot on, mate. So, my first up is Marlon Pack, which might shock a few people. Marlon Pack, rightly, has taken a load of criticism, a lot by me. Geraint just said, go on, Si, swear. Marlon Pack, I've been very critical of him, Hoylett, and I could have put Hoylett in there because Hoylett was very good on in the week as well. But on a day where Cardiff were an absolute disgrace against QPR, there was very, very few players to come out with any credit, and Marlon Pack was one of those players. I thought he was very, very good, and I think he deserves, just like he deserved the criticism, he deserves the praise for getting his head down, getting it on, and doing his job properly, despite the fact that he hasn't been in very good form. So it is what it is, mate. That's what I've gone with.
Excellent, I like that.
Got to give credit. Got to give the criticism.
Totally agree.
As well as the praise.
Totally agree.
Who's your second one?
My second one is a friend of ours, a friend of the show, George Jacobson. He got himself in the team of the week at the weekend from his display at fullback against Sheffield Wednesday. He had an excellent game through the week against Birmingham City. Should have scored or could have scored, which he thought was absolutely fantastic. And it hasn't gone all plain sailing, by the way. He's had a really tough start of the season. He's been in and out the side because he's been inconsistent. He hasn't been playing great. So to come back and play 2 games this week the way he has, he deserves a little bit of credit as well.
Yeah, he was right up on my list, was Joe Jacobson. I thought he had an excellent week. Get lower inside, so he's like a naughty school kid. Indeed, naughty school kid. I went for my second up. There was a couple of people who kind of stood out, obviously Tony and a few others, but I went with Scott Sinclair.
Good shout.
I think every time Preston do well, it goes through him. His pace, even at the age he's at now, I think he's still a very good championship player. And I'll tell you one thing, even as an ex-Swansea player, he's better than anything Cardiff have got. Maybe with Harry Wilson aside, maybe up top, I would love to have him whipping in some crosses and stuff. But there we go. I thought he's outstanding for Preston, and I think if Preston do anything this year, they need to keep him fit and healthy, and
totally agree.
Maybe rest him at the right time.
He's a live wire
games
size.
as well.
He can change the game. He hasn't just he can assist. He can score goals. He's got pace. He's a really exciting player.
Indeed. Very quickly then, guys, if you want to ask any questions, ask them now while I just read out some comments. Gavin Randall says Harry Wilson behind two forwards. A few people saying about the diamond. Reese says if you play with a number 10, you need a box-to-box midfielder and a ball-winning midfielder behind him. Unfortunately, Parker's got no mobility. Bakuna is great box-to-box, but no ball-winner in there. Would you agree with that, Mitt?
I wouldn't probably agree with it all. I like Bakuna. I like what he brings, but I think what Bakuna gets a really bad name is when he gets played at fullback. You know what I mean? Because he's not a fullback, and I think when he has a bad game at fullback, everyone says, "Well, he can't defend." But it's different defending in midfield than it is in a fullback, because our wingers are better than the attacking players in centre of field, and he can break things up. He's aggressive. You know what I mean? We've got enough players who are good enough to get, for players like him and Pack and Vaux, in my opinion, better players to pass the ball to. So get the ball to Wilson, get the ball to him. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to do a little bit more. Is do your own job. Break the game up, win the tackles, win the battles, and pass to the players who can break things up and make things happen for Cardiff City.
Yeah, and that's what Joe Rolls does so well. Is he moves the ball quickly.
Yeah.
The problem is he's not going to go and win you tackles and intercept a lot of passes around the box, and then we do struggle. And Pack slows the ball down so much when he does win it back. Gehring asks Andy Murphy, he says Murphy doesn't get involved in the nitty gritty though, because you said about Murphy being the choice as winger.
Yeah, but I don't think he needs to. If his job is explained to him,
stay wide.
You get the ball. You take your fullback on. My challenge to a Josh Murphy would be, how many crosses can you put in the box today? You know what I mean? Your job is to put 25 crosses in the box. If you don't put 25 crosses in the box, you've had a bad game. You don't need to beat your fullback. Can you beat your fullback? Can you get 5 shots on target? You know what I mean? If you can get 25 crosses in the box, if you can get 3 to 5 shots on a game, for me, you've had a very good game. You know what I mean? You might score goals. You're definitely going to set something up. So, you know what I mean? For me, it's about a manager, coach is challenging your players effectively.
Yes.
I don't want him winning tackles. I don't really want him winning headers. I want him putting crosses in the box. I want other players passing him the ball and him putting crosses in the box and doing what he's good at.
Spot on, mate. I think he showed enough at the end of last season.
I totally agree.
He was coming on when he finally got a run of games, wasn't he?
I watched him against Middlesbrough side, and he absolutely ripped Middlesbrough open every time he got it and got his goal at the end and thoroughly deserved it. He was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, if I was there, I'd play him and I'd say to him and Ojo probably, stay wide, stretch the game. When you get the ball, take on your fullback and do him for pace.
Yeah. No one's got any more pace than him.
No. Reece says he clarifies. He said he wasn't slating Bakuna. He was just saying that he's a great box-to-box midfielder. But he said we haven't got a proper ball winner in there. Yeah. But I think that's what Pack is supposed to be, isn't it?
But he can't win Reece. He can't win those battles playing a fullback, can he? But if he goes in there, he leaves a big gap and he's exposed. So
and the thing is, he's not a very good box-to-box midfielder while he's playing at right back.
Don't put square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, and Rob Boyle is trying to be funny. I don't find him funny whatsoever. He says, Andy, what's your thoughts on Moana? So, for those who don't know, and Andy, you might know, me and Kev did Super Kev Unscripted Live on Tuesday, didn't we? Where we just talk about anything which people send in. And to finish us off, we did the top 10 films of all time. And Rob put Moana in the top 10 films that have ever been made, ever.
What? Not just Disney.
Not just kids' films. Ever.
Oh, okay.
So we had what do we have? Like Silence of the Lambs, or we had like The Godfather, Goodfellas, all these like masterpieces, The Green Mile, The Matrix, all these films. When Rob was having Moana in there. So what's your thoughts on Moana?
It's an okay Disney film
For kids.
For juniors.
It was a good fun though, that show, I gotta be honest. We'll have to we're doing a Christmas one. It's a Christmas week.
Sorry, Rob.
21st 21st of December is the Andy Campbell Show's 100th episode. It's also Christmas week. The 22nd of December is the Super Kev unscripted Christmas party. So I think we should get Campbell on the 22nd with me and Kev for an unscripted episode. Christmas party,
Christmas party
Nation style. Red
party.
wine's compulsory though for those shows. And we'll just talk about some stuff. Braveheart, Gladiator, they're all coming in now. But I was. Oh, there you go. Rob said you were a lot kinder than what Kev was. Kev wasn't having it at all. But yes, it was. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good fun. Kelly says Moana's a good film. I know it is a good film. It's just not in the top 10 greatest films of all time. But anyway, Matilda, Raya says. Right, I'm not getting into these films again. We'll be here all night. Appreciate everyone as always. And again, thanks to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel. Spread the word. And of course, just keep telling people. Keep doing it. We've got loads of good stuff. Little Easter egg for you. In the upcoming weeks, 2 of the guests for the Andy Campbell Football Show. Not going to say when, but in the coming weeks, 2 of the guests have been mentioned in this evening's show. Andy, as always, it is my absolute pleasure. So they can all go and rewind it back now and see who we've talked about. And it's been a pleasure, mate. You know it.
Do they want another teaser then? Because I can.
Go on.
So one of the guests, I said his name.
One of the guests, we both said his name.
Yep, we did, both of us.
Oof.
So you've got to watch the show again. I'll get someone else to watch it for you.
Yeah, got to go through second by second. I might even do a giveaway if someone can guess the right answer, because we got to 1,000 subscribers and I said that I would do some sort of giveaway, so we'll see. Ivan Tony, wrong. Rob.
I wish it was.
But guys, give this show a like and share it and everything. Obviously the audio version will be out in the morning as well.
And it's not Bradley Dack, unfortunately.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to keep that quiet. Brian Robson, no,
unlucky.
Yeah, Gavin said you said loads of names, and I said that's the point. Trying to think if we could give another choice, another like clue without giving it away, but I'm.
Yeah, of course.
Right, I can't communicate with you now, but yeah. Anyway, cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.